Welcome to this special edition of Prophecy and Spiritual Warfare. Today's prophecy update, tornado prophecy. This was given on Sunday, June 21st. To recap that message, God is judging America, and he is starting with his house. Specifically, he is judging the leaders in the body of Christ, and this is God's message. Tornadoes are coming. Get to low ground. This is a tornado warning. Isaiah 40, 3-4. Says a voice cries out, in the wilderness clear a way for the Lord. Construct in the desert a road for our God. Every valley must be elevated and every mountain and hill leveled. The rough terrain will become a level plain, the rugged landscape a wide valley. So this is what God is doing in the church. He is leveling the mountains and the hills. So if you're in an exalted position in the church, God is going to take you down. All of your teachers can be saying peace and prosperity. God's kingdom is now. Now it's time for us to go and have dominion over the earth. But God has a different message. Peace and prosperity, no. A storm and a whirlwind. Your true leaders are already low. Follow their example and get to low ground. If you follow the example of an exalted person, you're going to be destroyed. If you remain in your tower, you will be struck by lightning and carried away by the tornado. This was given on June 21st, 2015. The literal fulfillment of this prophecy happened the next day, June 22nd. There was a line of storms and tornadoes called a derecho that hit the day after the tornado prophecy was given. 4 churches were hit. Weather.com reports a long-lived squall line known as a derecho ripped across a swath from South Dakota to Wisconsin Monday morning, leaving widespread damage in a path that also included northern Iowa and parts of southern Minnesota. A second round of thunderstorms erupted in the afternoon and evening hours across parts of Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, and Michigan, bringing several reports of tornadoes. So there were tornadoes in places that don't even normally have tornadoes the day after we gave this prophecy. Why? Because God is giving a literal fulfillment. And as we zoom in on Portland, Michigan, we are going to see a dramatic fulfillment, dramatic illustration of this prophecy, which God is doing in the church. The prophecy was given on June 21st, Sunday. And the line of storms hit on Monday, June 22nd. In Portland, Michigan, it caused destruction to 4 churches, at least 2 of them historic churches, historic buildings. 4 churches in Portland were damaged to varying degrees in Monday's tornado that struck the small Ionian County town. First Congregational, Portland United Methodist, First Baptist, and Epic Community Church have all been damaged that they will not be able to host services in the foreseeable future. Leaders of the 4 churches met Tuesday morning and decided they will not only share space, but share a message. Do you understand the prophetic significance of the fact that God has given this word? Tornadoes are coming, that everything that is exalted is going to be torn down. Every high thing is going to be torn down, and the next day, 4 churches in one town are hit. 2 of their steeples are destroyed. One of the steeples was picked up and dropped into the sanctuary. Okay, so the high places, just as the prophecy said, were targeted. Leaders at First Congregational Church had just finished putting up lights on their newly renovated steeple and bell around lunch Monday, a mere 2 hours before the tornado hit. I heard the bell ring Sunday morning, and every time I heard that bell ring, it just chokes me up. I'm sure we'll save the bell. We may mount it on the ground, but we will ring that bell. It's part of who we are, described an emotional Tom Hugler, chairman of the Board of Trustees with the church. Hugler said the church had been around since 1843 and moved to its current Bridge Street location in 1877. It was on the National Register of Historic Places. A sad ending to such a historical building, but as Hugler and others said Tuesday, a church is people, not a building, and amazingly, there were no serious injuries in Monday's tornado. From WZZM 13, Portland, Michigan, First Baptist Church demolishes tornado-damaged steeple. The First Baptist Church in Portland brought in a wrecking crew Thursday to bring down the steeple damaged in Monday's tornado. First Baptist Church is among 4 churches damaged by the twister. The steeple was since considered a safety hazard because of the danger for collapse, according to inspectors. They used heavy equipment to claw the damaged steeple down. Pastor Gary Coleman said a lot of history going down. In many ways, our congregation's going to go through the grieving process. It's such a devastating loss. Other congregants said a lot of memories are in there, and the devastation is terrible, but God is still good. They were having a hard time getting the tower to come down. It was picked up and moved by the tornado, and so the city required that they take it down because it was no longer safe. But when they came in to try to claw it down, it was really giving some resistance. And so the pastor said, I think the tower was saying, the tornado's not going to take me down. Man's going to have a problem taking me down too. Notice that this tower, as this pastor said, it did not want to come down. But ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you today with this prophetic voice of the Lord, that tower did come down. Whether it liked it or not, it came down. It was a historic building. It cannot be replaced. And you have to understand that is the force of what God is doing. This is a microcosmic view. We're zooming in on one little town in Portland, but God is showing you a dramatic sign, a dramatic picture of what is going on in the whole church. He is tearing down these exalted places. He is tearing down the traditions that we have had, that we have built up over the years. You know, these historic places, there's so much history in it that is going down, just like when he destroyed the temple. It was replete with meaning to all the people who love the Lord. So many memories, like that bell that was ringing. And it causes so many tears and so much pain, even a grieving process. But what God is doing is tearing down everything that can be shaken so that we come to this one conclusion. Do you hear what they are saying? Do you hear what these people are coming to? They said, the church is people, not a building. And amazingly, there were no serious injuries. That's God's mercy at work, you guys. God is showing us that all the things that we thought were Christianity, including our denominations, that those things are going to fall. They have to fall. They're not part of his kingdom. They're not part of an eternal kingdom. But when they fall, you are going to find that when you have the attitude that the congregant said, you know, this is so hard. This is terrible. It's devastating. But God is still good. When you hold to that, in spite of the fact that this horrendous damage is coming to the body of Christ, this judgment, these tornadoes, then you are going to be okay, because that gold is what God is refining in these last days. The beautiful conclusion to this is, in fact, that this resulted in these four congregations, different, styles of worship, different denominations. They decided to come together not only to share space, but to share a common message for a time. I don't know how long they did this, but what a beautiful picture of what happens when this judgment comes. Everything else is getting torn down, and yet God is able to tear down also the walls that have separated us. Many times the walls of our churches and of our steeples and of all the things that we thought were defining our religion are also keeping out other Christians and keeping us from one another. He's tearing down those walls, and we are coming together as the body of Christ.